Good morning to the listeners. This is Linda Coyle with Trish and Katy Beddingfield, and Trisha Cook. And we are here to continue our conversation about how different is indeed good. Katy is a young lady who has a diagnosis of dyslexia. Katy, is that all that you have is dyslexia? Is that what you're diagnosed?
And yes, and a little bit of ADD as well.
Okay. And that so she has painted quite a picture of how her learning difference actually are gifts. And she was blessed to have a mother who recognized this, and she helped her understand how her learning uniqueness was indeed the gift, right? And how she could take her strengths and teach her in the way that she needed and deserved to be taught. And then, so she shared last week about what it was like as a high school student, and then touched a little bit on what it was like in college, how all of a sudden doors opened and she could truly see at that point how she had certain tools that she could use, and then how her voice mattered and how she could be her own advocate. So today she's going to continue and take us to present, how she is navigating the world today so beautifully. Thank you, Katy.
Yeah. Um, yes, so college um college was definitely the point in my life where my education and my desire for learning um grew and became something that I was enjoying rather than I felt like it was a chore or something that was a task, a begrudging task. Um, because it's very important to find something that you enjoy doing and makes you excited to um, be able to find what you're interested in, and that's definitely where college came into play. um, I started out as a musical theater major, and it quickly changed my sophomore year of college into makeup and hair, into becoming a makeup and hair stylist. I walked into our um, costume closet where they held every costume and prop piece that had been made over the years, and it was kind of like a light went off in my heart and in my head that I was like, this is where I need to be, because I just got so excited with the creative side of theater instead of being on the performing side. And even though my family thinks that I should definitely be on the performing side, I like the the creative side more. Um, and so that was really really fun, because where I might in college might have had a few of those um like entry level courses like history and math that I didn't necessarily enjoy the whole time before I got into my major classes. I had my theater classes to look forward to.
So let
And
me
that what was
right there for 1 second. As soon as you said,
yeah.
okay, number one, you discovered your passion.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't it have been wonderful if that would have been discovered during your younger years, right? Was there
Yeah.
a missing link there that a lot of us as educators are not fine tuning and really digging in the very beginning stages of getting to truly know that child and help them get to a point of discovering what they were made for, what are their
Mm,
gifts, what are their strengths, and that in
And
turn comes
interests.
interest, right? And that is where the passion comes, right? So then you mentioned math. So math was not an interest of you, or maybe you had a fear
No.
like I had, right? But if you
yeah.
told me that I had to measure Susie boots over here because I'm going to design a costume for the play, I'm all about it because I want to get to that. I want to get to the point where I accurately created a costume for her, and it has to be accurate or it's gonna droop on her and she's not gonna look good,
Mhm.
right? So now I need
Yeah.
to figure out all the different angles, right? So there's the learning applied to,
Mhm.
it's applicable to your
Mhm.
interest, and
Yeah.
that a huge light bulb just went off. Thank you. It was a perfect
Mhm.
example of how we could use that.
Can I say that she's gonna problem solve that? If she had never gained that skill prior, that she's gonna work it out, and she's got this knowing inside of her, this intuition of how to work it out. It didn't have to be beaten down into her in education of this is how we're measuring and everything, that it would come out. Her gifts of strengths in this area would come out naturally.
Mm.
Yeah,
Good.
and so you know what? I actually experienced that. I'm doing some assessing as I'm getting my reports together for individual education plans, and we didn't necessarily get to measurement yet. And I don't like to teach
Mm.
it like as a separate thing. That's never a good way to go. However, I did need to see if they had some sort of foundation. So I was videotaping their little hands manipulating a ruler. And it was just so interesting to see how, well, I have to move the paper. No, I have to move
Mm.
the ruler. And I have to, oh no, why would I start at the edge? The number starts here. Like for them to discover it themselves rather than me saying, no, you start at the edge and you started, why are you starting at 15? Like, so
Mm.
uh,
Trusting the child.
yeah, trusting the child. So it was pretty cool. And so thank you. A lot of times here on these episodes, we're learning together, right? And we're also simultaneously, hopefully, helping the listener understand that teachers are a work in progress too, right? And the school systems, a lot of them really want to help the whole child, right? And what's the best way to do
Mm.
it? So a lot of times it's through conversation with people that have walked in the shoes as a student. So thank you, Katie, um, for showing us what life was like in school and where you are now in college and how you discovered your passion. Continue.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely every now and then I definitely have a a wish that I had kind of figured out what I had wanted to do in high school because I hear a lot of my coworkers and friends talking about how like they did all of these different like even and I think it was also just because I was homeschooled as well. Like the school that I went through, they didn't have the ability. So like there are these other high school level like competitions that you can go to for theater. And it's more so kind of like in the public school system, but I didn't really have an opportunity to do that. Um, but and I'm not that's it was definitely the Lord's timing and all of that for me to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and my career and what I really just felt called to do. And it was honestly, I think I'm figuring out a lot of this as I talk to you guys. Um,
Yeah.
and because which is cool because it's like when you talk to like-minded people and people who have walked through similar situations, then you kind of figure out more as to why things happened the way that they did. And because I think high school was, once I got to the end of high school, I started to be able to understand the importance of education and learning and like what I was capable of, but I didn't actually start enjoying it until college. So I think that's why I really got into my college courses, because I was independent and I was alone. And so I could really come into my own in my education and also in my passion and in the career choices that I want to make. And I mean, it also helped that I had the full support of my parents, who were, regardless of what I decided I wanted to do, they were like, that's awesome. Yes, go be in theater. It was never, no, you should do something else. It was very much, they were always just very supportive of everything that any of us did, any of my sisters did. We all are in different areas of
Can
college and passions. Yeah, go for it.
I say something about the dyslexic learner? We can be more because of the language deficit on the left side of the brain. We can have early development on the right side, and we can call that over or compensation or even over compensation for that development on the deficit on the left with the language. And that is the creative, imaginative, thinks outside of the box, but really it's color, shape, size, dimension, rhyme, meter, pattern. So they can really be into a character because they can imagine it and they can duplicate whatever that character is trying to portray. So there's a lot of actors in that are dyslexic, as y'all know. I don't have to name them all. Now, I also want to say with you, we're going to talk about the tactile sense, getting that need met, but that can come a little later. But for also, it's imaginative. So you've been asked to create a character with autonomy. What that person is going to look like. You probably have less autonomy if somebody tells you how to create that character's look, but you probably have a lot of autonomy in that. I want to say autonomy is key for the dyslexic learner, and attunement. Okay, because that leads to adaptability in the brain, by the way, but we won't get into that either. So I also want to mention, it's not all people that are dyslexic that are creative and imaginative, thinks outside the box, conceptual thinkers. There's 5% who compensate on the same side of the brain. So their logical mathematical is higher, but notice that's a much lower percentage. So those are the ones that are the doctors that have dyslexia. Those are the ones that are the scientists that have dyslexia. Very small percentage of people will compensate on the same side. I am specifically not one of those, but that's okay, because I would take all those gifts any day that's on the right of what we've been mentioning. And that's what a teacher is in a way. If you think about it, I tell a story. I'm telling a story constantly. And to portray whatever it is that I want my students to learn. So I even act out, look at me, I'm talking with my hands right now, I'm acting. So we're big into drama, acting. We're very attached to our emotions too. We can grab them at the drop of a hat. And I can talk about emotional hypersensitivity, but we can get to that in a little bit. But it's all part of your gift and interest. I'm so glad you figured it all out. And eventually, and that's all in God's timing, like you said, it all had to happen as it did.
I just need to, my ADD brain is going straight to an experience I had. I just have to share real quick and then we'll get back. I'm sorry, selfishly.
Yeah.
So we are working
good.
on teaching empathy in our classroom, right? And so we're reading the novel Wonder. And we got to the point where the family dog Daisy passed away. Complete transparency. I did not read in advance. I did not know the story. I never had an animal before. My dog Brandy. the love that we have for that baby girl and how she has brought such joy into our family, all of a sudden, I had empathy for the family who lost Daisy. I started to cry in front of my students. And one of my students walked over and had empathy for Mrs. Coyle and gave me a tissue. The one that was sitting right in front of me actually said, as I pulled my mask down, "Ew." I said, "What?" He goes, "I smell garlic and I smell spinach." I said, "Well, that's what I had for lunch." Right?
Hypersensitivity of smell, by the way. We remember we're
So
getting
he
that.
did not notice
Mhm.
me crying or at all feel bad that I was feeling sad
Mhm.
at that point, right? So then it gets better. So then I continue to read, and the deaf teacher, the teacher for my deaf student who does the what do you call it? She
The
helped
interpretation.
the interpreter in the class. "Mrs. Cora, I'm really sorry." She said, "But I can't understand a word you're saying because you can't stop crying." Right. So now it's like now the student in front of me knows, okay,
Mm.
she's crying, right? And so then at the end, when I finally finished the chapter, he said, "Are we gonna have snack next and free time?" I said, "You know what? Did you notice at all that I was crying?" Oh, like, no, he didn't even notice. Like, what is that? I was like,
Yeah, it's a hyposensitivity of emotions. So just as well as a hyposensitivity of tactile, uh, or the smell, the everything else.
but so my sensitivity as a dyslexic, right? I completely got
Yes,
into
empathetic.
her and empathetic and felt it,
Mhm.
right? Where
Mhm.
he, on the other hand, didn't feel it at all. So I just thought that to be very interesting. And I
Mhm.
love how there was like no judgment. He's just who he is, right? But anyway, thanks for allowing me to share that because it's really kind of cool to look back at these episodes and see my students.
So
And
we have undiagnosed ADHD, all of us. They've taken they keep the H now. Okay.
Mm.
So what you say ADHD inattentive is what we are, is the proper way of saying it. Or it's ADHD combined where you have the hyperactivity the um with the in inattentivity. But you know what I'm saying, inattentive.
yeah,
So being that we're all at ADHD, we're going to go like this. We're going to go from topic to topic to topic to topic because that's where our attention lies, where our mind is. And that's part of
Yeah.
it. So we're all like not getting upset with each other here. And it's all right because we know our mind is set and we got to get it out or it's gone. And then we get upset because we're paying attention to whatever that is. And that's in our mind at that time.
right. And we're all perfectly imperfect, and it's okay so long as it comes back
Mhm.
around, right? So a lot of
Mhm.
times I think if we teach our students, it's okay to come off topic. Like a lot of times I say on or off. Are you on topic or off topic? If you need to be off for a little bit, we can allow that, but we gotta get back. We gotta get
Mhm.
back on, right?
And that takes time. We know that. We years of not liking it is what happened with me.
Yeah. So anyway,
Oh
But
yeah.
I draw and color when we're speaking, and that helps. And I let my students draw and color as they're learning. So that helps keep me in attention, is that actual movement and drawing. So
so I
it's a
don't know if you noticed,
compensation for it.
I don't know if you noticed how I posted in our daily audio Bible group that that Doodly. I don't know if the platform is Doodly, but the
Mhm.
actual physical drawing of we're in Exodus right now, and the speaking. So those two modes where I'm watching the story being drawn, and then someone speaking.
Mm.
My goodness, if my teacher taught me that way the whole time I was in school, I would have learned so
Now, what
much.
is it called? So I get this.
Yeah.
What is
So I remember Doodly. I purchased it last year, and
it?
it's a platform from which you can bring characters and symbols in that represent what you're trying to say. So it's being drawn over time. And so, for instance,
Mm.
Exodus started here, and then and then this happened, and then that happened, and he's drawing, and then in summary, all of this, and it's beautiful. So when you go in there, you'll be so blessed when you see the link that I put in there. I don't know, again, if they use Doodly, if that's the only platform that was created that does that. Have you ever seen commercials where the hand is drawing and they're writing
Yeah.
the words? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that. But in this example, the characters are being drawn and words are being used and scripture is being posted. It's beautiful. So I just
Don't
want,
ever get onto your students for doodling when they're in school. It's the only way I actually reactivate my brain for more learning and listening and attention. So I used to get in trouble sometimes for doodling. Don't do that. Please don't do that. It's how I learn.
Mm.
Mhm.
right. I mean, and you can always check in
Yeah.
with that. And I noticed that you're doodling. Can you share with us how that's helping you access the
Yeah.
information?
Yep.
Tell
Retrain.
us, because you could help us all, right? So I always try to go in on that because, yeah, I mean, you have a story in your head. It's like, you're not paying attention to me. That's disrespectful. I mean, teachers have been taught that. Like, I'm in control. I'm the leader, you know, and so we fall into that way because that's what the world's telling us to do. So anyway, as we get off topic
Mm.
again, all right. So continue. It's all about you, Katie.
We have a guest
Um,
that's waiting to come in. So when y'all are ready for them to come in, you let me know.
Who?
A guest on
Oh,
wisdom.
great.
Whenever y'all ready.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
awesome.
It's Chris Berryman.
Hi, Chris Berryman. Welcome to Different is Good. What's on your mind? Hi there, Chris. Welcome to Different is Good. What's on your mind?
She can't hear you yet, Chris. I'm
How are
sorry.
you guys doing this morning on Super Sunday?
Hi there. Super Sunday. We're doing great.
All right,
What do you
great. It's another great day to be alive and another gift, not only to receive, but to give as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I truly believe not only is different good, but wisdom comes from being different. And this is the reason why I say that. Is because if we're all going to be the same people throughout our lives, and we'll have that collective mindset and that hive mindset, then what would be the sense of even living? And I just truly know that that's what makes humanity so unique by design, is if we can come together for a cause or a mission or a purpose, and we all can come that in such a way, not only is it in a collective, in a community, but we can bring our unique skill sets, our unique experiences, our unique insights and takes on things. And that's what makes humanity so unique by design, is when we can do that together, and we do that well from the very simple things we already have in front of us. Not only will our wisdom grow for it, we can not only meet people where they are, but they can also meet us where we're at, because we're already sitting at the same table of humanity.
Wow. Okay. So can you share with us, okay, who are you gifting with your talents and your knowledge? What do you do for work?
Well, my mission, passion, and purpose is
Mission
to not
passion.
only bring humanity together, but also to bring humanity into business and beyond. And we here at Bringing Humanity Together are dead set on doing this. We're creating environments that people will love, not only in our workplaces, but in our communities, because we see how interconnected they are. And if we can keep things surprisingly simple, and we meet people where they are, and build a bridge with them and to them in such a way, not only does it work in the model of the world that they work under, but also works in the model of the world that we work under, And if we can step out of that model of the world for maybe even a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, I would tell you right here, right now, today on Super Sunday, what will become before us is the literal definition of change, which is transformation, because that comes out of nothing. That's literally created on its own from all involved, and that is, to me, is the next way to move humanity forward. Because to me, ladies and gentlemen, the next currency of humanity is going to be rooted in value, not money. Because if you help others build their field of dreams, they will in turn help build your field of dreams.
Yeah, I heard you say value. Did you hear me mention earlier about attunement is so important?
Well, value is always important. It's an thing from humanity that we all agree upon. It's like I call them like the universal truths of humanity. It's like we all want to be heard, we all want to be loved, we all want to be appreciated, we all want to feel like we're a part of something bigger than ourselves. Those are inherent to us. They're basically in our DNA. It's there. But sometimes what happens to us when it comes not only from a wisdom standpoint, but even a perspective and perception standpoint, is two people in our way. Number one, us. We get in our way.
That's what she said last time. Katie said that she was getting in her own way. She realized it because nobody ever said she was stupid to her. They only uplifted her. So she said she was keeping herself back, which was so enlightening.
Correct. But like I said, we get in our way before we understand and realize, because we got to tell ourselves why that is. It could be an unconscious thing, or it could be a conscious thing, or it could be both. It doesn't really matter, but it happens. And then the other person who gets in our way is we allow others to feed in that negative mindset into our brains. And we do that constantly for whatever reason around that is, because they say, oh, it can't be achieved, or it can't be done, or you got this, that, and the other, or such. But see, that's not a real and I believe when we understand our place in space that is in relevance to life, not only do we know what our purpose is.
Well, as a listener, I have to say, Chris, I don't know, we could hear you so clear in the beginning, but right now, I'm really having a hard time understanding what you're saying. I don't know.
With that being said, Chris, are you on LinkedIn by chance?
Absolutely.
Yeah, can we connect that way? Because we're working on a horizontal framework in education, so it no longer to be vertical, and we need somebody like you. So since she's having a hard time, we'll get back with you, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Chris,
you.
for wisdom.
It was nice.
That was
Okay.
wonderful. Wow, that is so true about how if we could all, to me, it's also all we need is love, right? If we just came at everything with love, and what can I do to help? Which brings us back to Katy. Like your passion probably came from your innate feeling of like wanting to help. Like, wow, I'm creative. I was born with this amazing gift of creativity, and I'm going to help someone be the best version of themselves out there on stage. I'm going to make the most beautiful costume, and I'm really good at applying makeup, which I would love for us to meet one day and you show me how to do my eyes.
I think you do it actually rather well. I think your makeup is gorgeous, and I'm obsessed with your hair. I've actually been thinking that all morning. So now I can actually say it out loud.
Oh, you're so funny. Okay. I appreciate that big ego boost. Anyway, so gosh, that was exciting how he just kind of came in like that. And that he could summarize maybe our title was Wisdom Different is Good, helped him jump in. But that's exciting. We'll have to reconnect with him. So Katy, as we digress here, so now tell us, what are you right now doing for work? Are you continuing your education as well?
I'm not continuing my education right now. I mean, I am on my own time. I makeup is something that you have to constantly keep up with, especially because I'm a wig and makeup stylist for Sight and Sound Theaters here in Branson, Missouri. We have 2 locations. We have one in
Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Pennsylvania.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Say that again. You do it for Sight and Sound?
I do, yes. So I'm one of the wig and makeup stylists for Sight and Sound Theaters and here in Branson. Um,
I'm so
we
excited.
have,
I'm obsessed with Sight and Sound. I'm coming to visit.
you are? Oh my gosh!
I have to.
Yes. Okay.
have
Let
to
me know
go
when you're
too.
here.
I'm gonna
I'm
go.
sure
Yes.
Visit Branson.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Yeah. Come and visit. So yeah. So we have 2. Our first location is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and then we have our second one here in Branson. And so for those who don't know what Sight and Sound is, it is a massive theater. They are a theater company. And they bring the Bible stories
life.
to life on stage.
No.
So
Um,
that's so Trish, that's where I go during teachers convention. I go to the Lancaster Sight and Sound. And so
Wow.
well, Jesus coming up. Are you doing David and Moses?
yes, so yeah. So Lancaster is getting ready to premiere David, and we're working on year 2 of Jesus. So we just
Wow.
finished 1 year of Jesus, and now we're working on getting second year of Jesus up and running. We'll open second year of Jesus in March.
Can I say something real fast
Um,
about the dyslexic brain and what you do, what you just mentioned to me? So your interest involved in the creative, imaginative side and recreating these characters that popped up into your mind. You also have outside influences, believe it or not, of other arts. We get inspired by other artists. What is your
mhm.
other artist? Because to me, the Bible series on Pure Flix, that wholly had me like wanting to go and just do what you do, just watching that. So what inspired
Mm.
you in the arts? Is it music? Is it other people's drawings? Is it other people's poetry?
Mm.
Is it other, we get inspired because that's that wisdom part he was talking about. Those inspired get inspired. Those are you got me. You know what I was saying. What's
Yeah.
your inspiration?
My inspiration is I love movies. I love seeing new and different worlds that I can invest in and also believe in. If it's something, which sounds funny, but it's like, I mean, I'll use Star Wars for instance, but they've created such a distinct world that when you see something, it's almost that in and of itself, that world is inspiration for other things.
Right.
Because it's like they created the world of Star Wars, and then there are other movies that people have created that are like, well, Star Wars was the first thing that happened, and then now you have this whole other genre of movies that came out of oh my gosh, like all of these other movies about space travel and like life on other planets. And so then that just sparks all of these other TV shows and movies and makeup and hair and all of these other creative worlds that you can create just
partner with God.
in our solar system.
And if you partner with God.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit he's the ultimate creator of these imaginative things, of this poetry that comes out of it, the movies, the everything,
Yeah. So that's what I've
So what
pull
is what is your
inspiration from.
day, what does your day consist of? And do any stories come in your head? I can't imagine being surrounded by, you're so blessed to be surrounded by Christian, God-like people, right? So there's no
Oh, yeah.
fear of judgment. There's no fear of failure. There's only, I'm sure, lifting up opportunities of one another. Tell us about that. Like, what does a day in a life look like for Katie? Like, how does your
Yeah.
day gate, and how do your
So
gifts?
yeah. So right now, since we're not in what it's called show run, we're in changeover right now because we're changing from one show to the other. So right now, what I do, I work from Monday through Friday, and I get into work, and so sorry, backtrack a little bit. Here's my ADHD coming out. I started in the middle and I have to go back to the beginning. So
I can explain that, but I won't.
um, so during year one of Jesus,
Mhm.
we start fittings. So we have fittings for all of our actors who got contracts for year two of Jesus. And so we have to fit the costumes and the wigs on them, because what I do and what me and my other team, my other coworker, my other team member, what we do is we will alter the wigs to fit our actors. That could be opening them or tightening them, or most of them don't need any alterations, because most of our actors can have upwards from 2 to 10 wigs for the whole show, because we have multiple characters throughout the show. So what we do is we cast all of our characters 3 deep. So each person who is in the role of Jesus, each of those men needs all of the wigs for Jesus, because they won't share anything. So we have to have 3 sets of every character. And so
So the
we go through.
backstage is ginormous with storage.
Yes.
And organized in such a way with people's names. I'm envisioning all of this. Like, this is
Yes.
okay.
Yes. So we have dressing rooms. We have 4 on each side of the stage. So there are two sides of the stage, and there are 4 dressing rooms on either side, and about 6 to 8 cast members can they each have this what's called a station, and that's their spot. It has their name on it. It has all of their wigs. Some of the men even have fake facial hair that we fit and alter to them. So right now, what my team is doing, we're going through all of the notes that we made during what is called first fittings. So the initial fitting of the wig to the actor, we're going through and we're doing all of those alterations, because we're now getting ready for what's called final fittings, which is the second fitting after we've done all the alterations to make sure everything fits.
Well, gosh,
And then if we need to,
if I lost weight, I'd be in big trouble by Katy. Or if I gained weight, now you're making me work. This is hard. No condemnation here, but come on.
It's hard, because it's like, they do have to maintain their hair length, and kind of maintain the weight that they had when they did that first fitting, because now if they've been working out, so like if they've gained muscle or if they grew their hair out and their hair's thicker, then the wig might not fit from when we last fit it to them. So, but I mean, those small alterations are easier to do after we've done the major alteration that we needed to do.
Now,
So
do you take the costumes from Lancaster? Because we finished Jesus. So do they deliver the original costumes in the set and then you alter those?
Sometimes we share if we don't have enough fabric, but most of the time, we will um, we'll get fabric and we'll build. So our costume team will build some new costumes, and it just depends because Lancaster did 2 years of Jesus, so those costumes have been worn for about 400 plus shows twice. So we have
Right.
11 shows a week, and that's for a whole year. And then they did 2 years of that. So those costumes are pretty worn. And so some of them needed to be replaced and some of them we could use. And
What were you gonna say?
yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
So to get our listeners up to date, Katie's been diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD, and Linda as well. And I have not been diagnosed with ADHD, which I should have, but anyway, but there's plenty of other things to go along with that has been. But so we talk about learning uniquenesses. So our mind is actually very unique. Speaking of getting the Holy Spirit inspiration, have you come up with anything that can be like that has been unique to these costumes, to these hair designs, that's not typical of anything that you see in all the other shows and portraying of this time period?
Yes.
Have you been able to? If they allow
I have.
your autonomy and attunement and adaptability here. Okay, yeah. What is it? I'm dying.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a little bit of film experience. And I'm also in my own training, I'm a special effects makeup artist. So I like to do a lot of I like to do cuts and bruises and wounds and prosthetics. So I like to do a lot of silicone and latex work, which is where my hands come into play. Because that's why I chose hair and makeup, because my brain works better when I'm able to use everything. There's an understanding there that I don't have if I'm not all
if
of my
it's just
senses into it.
auditory, or if it's just visual, or it's just
If it's just visual, or even if it's just my hands.
So
Like
I have to ask,
there's something that doesn't connect.
when did all that come together where you knew that was the type of learner that you were and that you were going to be the best version of Katy if all of your senses were being used? Do you remember a light bulb going off, or you knew? Because as we speak, I'm like, I'm not even sure. Like, I think Trish and I need to continue with my learning.
different training.
And now, like,
That's fine. We can.
I learn best. But anyway, Katy.
Yeah, there was this clay. So my granddaddy, he loved fish. And there was one day that I got like a little thing of from Hobby Lobby. It's like one of those just a little package of like this foamy clay. And I was trying to find something to make out of it. And I ended up sculpting, and I painted it, and I put it on this little piece of cardboard, and I painted the cardboard, and it kind of looks like, like a fish mount that you would get from like Bass Pro or any type of fishing store, like sort of decoration. And I gave it to my granddaddy, and it actually looked like a fish. I can't remember how old I was, but that being able to think about what a fish looks like in my head from pictures and when I'd gone fishing with my granddaddy, I could have my brain and my hands work in tandem together and be able to make the body and the tail and the fin, the mouth, and I even got a little like bead for the eye. And so it was a fun project because allowed me to know that like when, because like even just trying to draw a fish, my hands couldn't really, it's, and you actually form. That was when I was just, because like I love puzzles, so anything like 3D that I can touch and I can have my hands and my brain working in tandem together, then it all clicks.
Wow.
So that was
What a beautifully,
So the different scars is the link with the Star Wars, which is the link with the working with the hands, which is the link with the being able to be unique in that scar and such.
Yeah.
mm,
Yep.
wow.
Because there's all kinds of different scars. Yep. And do you
Yeah.
see them in your mind before you create them? Or you play around with the clay and then they're created? That's very important that you think about what I asked, because it says creativity along with imagination or just creativity.
I do both. So sometimes if there's not something already in my head that I can pull from, then I'll just start playing around and doing something and seeing what shapes come out of it. But I also have found the beauty in research, because I like even descriptive language. So something that I can.
So it really
if
has you
someone,
reading when you're doing your research, but because it's your interest, because you know you can come creative from that you just then you love to read, right?
yes, because having to read for school I hated, because it was, you have to have this amount of chapters read by this, like during this week. When I'm on a time crunch, or like if I have a time put on me,
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it. If it's not something that I'm able to like do on my own time, then I'm like, I don't like this. So then when I actually started reading for fun, after like I found a few books that I really enjoyed, and that's one of the things where like there's a book that I loved when I was in high school, and honestly I still love them. They're called The Fairy Path, and there are these beautiful books, and as I'm reading them, the language in it is so descriptive that I could literally sit there and read, and in my own head and in my own mind picture this world that they've created in this book. And if they make a movie version of it, I will be very happy, but I want to be the one on this project, so I might have to start it.
Right. Why not? Why not? I think that was just that just came up. I think you better work on it.
Yeah, I call that the whys of dyslexia. I call it the whys because it's like, don't put a time limit, because we don't know when our mind is going to end endlessly with this thought that we want to research and look up. Now, when it's done, it's done. The door will close. So until then, just let me look up why I'm having this thought and this image or this feeling, and then I'll find out what you want me to know. And trust me, what they want you to know is who was the main character, what was the main character's best friend's name. We don't care what we care about this image, the story that's playing inside of our heads. And most of our students also love fiction. Now there are the nonfiction types. Remember that I talked about that 5% that compensate on the safe side. Now they're very much about facts, forms, and functions. Now they will, but if it's, for me, it's fiction also. But if it's related to my interest, it could be nonfiction. And realistic fiction is just the greatest combination of both, you know. So, well, we're gonna have to be closing down soon, guys.
Yeah, so
But
Yeah.
to answer your question really fast, I actually got to create a series. So there's a character in our show who is demon possessed. And it has to be represented in his clothing and in his hair and even in his makeup. So what I did is I created these wounds to actually be able to put into the wig that looked like he's ripping his hair out. So there are spots in the wig that are these very bloody and kind of graphic boil looking wounds in the wig that look like he's constantly just in chaos and scratching them, and they're constantly just being ripped open. That sort of thing. So I got to create all of these applications to put in our wigs.
Wow.
And so that was my pet project, and it was a lot of fun.
And so the wisdom comes in into trusting that image that you had and that you would be able to do it. And not everybody else in the world is doing whatever that is with the boils and the things. You see, this is where the wisdom comes in of your knowing and you trusting your knowing what yet nobody else is doing it because it's outside the box.
So in summation, God just totally gifted us with Katy, and we had no idea last week we wanted to move into her adult life and how her learning uniqueness plays out, right? And she just painted such a beautiful picture of what the day in life of Katy is, right? And it's at where? My favorite place, Satan's house. And so God knows that I want to get my RV and travel, and now I'm going to see Katy. So I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. I'm excited for your future, and so we will reconnect again with Katy, and I don't know, God, when will she have her next project of the fairy? What was the series? Your
Fairy
love,
path.
the fairy path. Yeah, she's going to create that as well. So we're not sure. Exactly how, but I'm sure it's going to be, you're going to be creating the
And
costumes.
listening next, Kate, I'll be talking about the hyper and hypo and varied sensitivities.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll say ta-ta for now. And thank you so much, Katy, for blessing us with your presence for the last 2 weeks. And is there anything else you want to say before we close?
I think that's it, but thank y'all for having me, and it's
you.
been a pleasure talking to you guys. So
Thank you, Katy.
thank
All
y'all.
right. Take care until we meet again.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.